Hi, good morning everyone. Let's get started with the next topic for this training session, which is on authorization groups in SAP. Authorization groups allows us to provide secure access to various entities in the SAP landscape, and the most common application of authorization group is to secure tables. But they can also be used to secure other objects like customers, vendors, accounts, or materials. In fact, authorization groups are represented by the authorization field BRGRU, and they form part of quite a few authorization objects. Okay, so we access basically authorization groups through T code called SE54. Okay, now we will be seeing the main tables which is involved in the authorization groups. So the first main table is TBOBJ table. Basically, it stores all authorization objects. TAC table stores all activities. TBRG table contains definition of all authorization groups, and TBRG table that we just saw contains the authorization groups and gives information about their relationship. Okay, so let's get into the different components that we just saw. So we have seen three transaction. Basically, we have seen the table called TOBJ table. We have seen table called TBRG table. We have seen table called TB TOBJ table. So TOBJ is basically consisting of the different authorization object. So let's go to SE16 and see that table. Okay, here you can see this table consisting of all objects. You have the object, you have different fields for those objects. Okay, so different fields, the objects, and you can see each object having activity as one of the field. There are other fields, and you can see this is storing the different authorization objects. So this table has its description, the objects, the fields. Now let's get into the next table, which is TAC table. TAC table basically it stores the information of all activity that can be performed on the objects, like you can create an object, you can delete an object, you can modify, activate. So there are multiple activities, there are many activities which can be performed on an object. So we'll see them. Now we are getting into the table where we'll see the list of activities which is available. You can see create operation where the activity is 01, change operation where the activity is 02, display operation where the activity is 03. So these are the different activities. Some of the key activities: 02 is like change, 01 is create, 03 is display, and there are other activities that you can see which is available in an SAP system. Basically, these activities are used to restrict authorizations on a system, on an object. Okay, next let's get into the object. Let's get into the table called TBRG table, which contains the different authorization groups. Okay, now let me go into this table to SE16. Okay, now let's get into the SE16 screen. Okay, let's type the table name called TBRG table. Okay, in this particular table we will be seeing the information about the different objects and their relationship with the object groups. You can see the first field, which is having the mandate. Mandate is basically a client in an SAP system. Then you have BROBG, which is basically authorization groups. Then you have information about uh, the authorization object and the text. So this table basically you are seeing, which is the TBRJ table. Okay, so let's get into the next thing, which is about the transaction code called SE54, where we will be seeing how to create authorization groups. and the transaction code, just for your reference, is SE54. Okay, so that is about the authorization group. Okay, so basically we have seen the authorization group, we have seen the tables which stores the different authorization group related stuff, like the activity, like the authorization object, the authorization groups, and the T code to maintain them. Okay, next what we'll do is we will try to create a authorization group. Okay, so let's get into that. Okay, so basically authorization groups, as we have seen, are represented by the authorization field BRGRU. Okay, here you can see the BRGRU field is for authorization group. Okay, so and multiple fields can be there, you can have multiple authorization groups. Okay, to secure access to tables views through authorization groups, we need to assign it to an authorization group. We have the choice of using any of the existing authorization groups, or we can create a new one for our table. Both these activities can be completed through the transaction called SE54. So using SE454, we can create an authorization group, we can modify an authorization group, and we can assign an authorization group. Okay, the key fields that we saw is BRGRU, and the main object basically for table is s_tabu_dis. Okay, and to manage and maintain this, we use the T code called SM31. We can use SM30 as well for doing an enhanced table maintenance. Okay, so the authorization group, the main field is BRGRU, and the entity which is s_tabu_dis. Basically you can assign the fields to this. Okay, now let's get into the SM30 transaction. Basically you have VD dat, and so just go through this. Basically it is telling about how do we maintain this thing, and in case, say for example, the user groups you are creating in SAP, you can do it through SUGR, and authorization group you can create through TD dat. It's through transaction called SE54. So SE54 is authorization group and user group through SUGR. So using this we maintain the enhanced security on the table. Okay, so let's get into the system. Let's get into SUGR. So basically this is just to tell you that what user groups are and why do we need user groups. Okay, just an overview about the user group. We are in the transaction code called SUGR. Just click on create and you can create a T code. You can create an user group. Now here I am adding the users into that particular user group that I am trying to create. We can add the description as well. Okay, so just take note that authorization groups and user groups are two different entities. In one we are creating the groups of users, in another one we are creating an enhanced security by creating additional fields. So now we are in the table called SE54. Okay, now we want to create, or we want to assign the authorization groups. So using this T code where you can see the authorization object you can create. Okay, you can display an authorization object. Okay, so that is what pretty much is possible using the T code SE54. Okay, So let's get back to SE54, and we will be seeing how do we create and display and change authorization groups in an SAP system, and how do we maintain or assign it to the different tables. Okay, say for example, let's take a table. Say we are going to select one table and we are going to assign the authorization group to that table. So if you have that authorization group, you can access that particular table. Now here you can see that I'm going for this table called AGR underscore users table. So this table is basically anything starting with AGR is for security related user tables, and they are actually the security tables. So I'm just going to give you an overview about some of these tables and how we can use authorization group to secure them. Okay, so here you can see that I want to see the table name and authorization groups. So just select both of them. You have the option to select either of them. Okay, so field name is work area, table name is TBRGT, and authorization groups from this to this. So you can, this is basically a kind of filter where you can select and identify the different authorization groups. Okay, and you can select the one that you are interested in. Okay, so you have selected one of the group and just select and you can press enter. Okay, so basically we are seeing here how we can select the authorization object, how we can select the authorization group, how we can map it to the table, and how these groups can be assigned, authorization groups can be assigned to the users. So just to recap what we have studied so far in this particular topic, we have studied about the different tables which are used in authorization group, the field, the key field which is there for authorization group, which is TBRG table, and the field is BRGRU table, and the T code to access them is AC54. And if you want to maintain these tables, you can go to SM30 and can maintain them. And basically this is used to give enhanced security control to the SAP system. Okay, so that is what I just wanted to let you know, that these are the things that can be done using security groups. We will see in examples and other details in the subsequent training session, that is how do we use SE24, how do we use SE54, how can we control access to the tables, how we can enhance the security of the tables. So all that we'll be seeing in our subsequent training sessions. Thank you for joining, and it was a pleasure talking to you, and have a nice day. Bye bye.